Hello and welcome to the Growing Healthy Families podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Scott Haggerty. On this show, I interview the world's top health experts so that you can know with certainty what it takes to give your family a life of epic health and wellness.
As parents, we don't want to see our kids struggle. I knew that he had the potential. I knew that something needed to be done.
It was hard. We would get frustrated. We didn't know how to deal with it. I was more emotional about it.
Sure that, we're here. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Hey moms and dads, this is Dr. Scott here for the first episode of your Back to School Success series. So this first one, which is a really important one here, is backpack safety. So what we want to address today are the most common, most important things that you know, so that as the kids are getting ready to go back to school, you're armed with information about how to make sure that when they're wearing the backpacks, they're safe, how much should they be wearing, where they should be, because all of these things are really critical as they go back to school so that you can protect their neck, you can protect their middle back, you can protect their upper back, so that they don't develop pain, so they are able to wear them comfortably and safely all year long. So let's dig right in here because there's quite a bit that I want to get to, okay? So first and foremost, let's just talk about the big issue, right? So more and more kids are coming in at younger ages complaining about low back pain into my office and offices all over the country. So the major reason, the biggest contributing factor to this is, number one, the weight of the backpacks is so much higher than there ever has been in the past. And the second issue is that kids, like all of us at points in times when we've worn backpacks, don't always wear them evenly. So if we're not wearing it evenly on our shoulders, then it can shift the weight and it can put uneven stresses into our spine, creating abnormal curves. So when we start talking about this, it's really important that we're aware that many kids are wearing backpacks that are as much as 1/4 of their total body weight. So moms and dads, that is a ton. So that's basically what a soldier wears on their back. And believe me, soldiers deal with tons of low back issues. So you don't want to put this kind of load into kids because this will alter everything about the way their spine both develops, but also the type of stresses that are on a day-to-day basis. Because every time that they're wearing a backpack like this, they have to make compensations to keep themselves upright. So one, they don't fall forward, or two, they don't fall back. So this is what we look at in terms of how these backpacks are supposed to be worn. So on this left side here, okay? So we want to take a look at what this is here going on. So you can see that this child here is wearing this asymmetrically. So obviously this is incorrect, because what you can see this abnormal force, and the body is having to be altered in terms of weight bearing so that this young lady here can stay upright. So when you look at this one here, right, she has nice square shoulders. She's got this belt strap here to go and spare the load so that she's not putting too much into the shoulders, and it's being shared into the waistline. This is a really important consideration because now she's got 3 points of balance. She has the shoulders and she's got the waist that can all carry some of the load. So when you look at the young man here on the side view, let's take a look right away, right? His backpack is exceptionally full, but look at what he's had to do. He's had to draw his head considerably forward so that he can offset this gravity that the backpack is putting into it. So what it also does, it also increases this curvature in his neck. So he's straightening out his neck, pushing his neck forward, but he's also got this excessive forward lean. And so his spine now, instead of being neutral, is being flattened out with a big increase in curvature. Whereas this young man here, right, he has in this picture on the right-hand side, this is a much better position, because now what you're looking at, he's got much better alignment of his head and shoulders right here, much less stress going into his low back as you follow this all the way down. He's essentially straight. This is a much better situation. So we want kids to have backpacks where they're wearing them where they're much higher on their waist, with a position where they're going to be shared between both shoulders, so that they're not having this uneven distribution. And we also want to make sure that when they wear these, that they're not wearing them too low on the hips. Do you notice how in the young man on the left-hand side, he's wearing considerably lower, and so that lower weight bearing causes him to lean that much more forward to offset the weight of it. Whereas the young man on the right-hand side, by wearing it a little bit higher, so right about waist level, so it allows him to stand a little bit more upright so he can better balance the weight. So you notice on here, major thing is the load should never be any higher than 10 to 15% of body weight. But I will tell you this, we're going to go a little bit deeper into guidelines because I think it's important to know what optimal is, because we know what maximums are and what the biggest risk factors are, but let's really look at guidelines. So number one, when you're picking a backpack out for your child, make sure that it has a good ergonomic design. So you never want it to be wider or longer than your child's torso and never hang more than 4 inches below the waistline. There must be padded back and shoulder so that all of those things are putting even distribution of weight, but also not putting too much stress into those areas. We also want to make sure that hip and chest belts are present to help transfer some of the weight to the hips and the torso. Multiple compartments to better distribute the weight. And so if you look at a lot of the backpacks, the older style backpacks, they'll only have 1 or 2 compartments. If there's multiple, it allows us to be spread out a little bit more across the back, which is always a good thing. And then compression straps on the sides or bottoms to stabilize the contents are always great. And make sure that it has a reflective material so that anyone that is behind them, motor vehicle or anybody like that, is able to see them pretty clearly. So always, always, always make sure that your child wears both shoulder straps. I know that a lot of kids, as they get older, they want to look cool, but a crooked spine will eventually be a painful spine. So it's really important that we have this awareness that we never want to go and wear these things asymmetrically because it'll cause stress in the neck. So I mean, if you even look here on the way that this young man is wearing this, right? So what has to happen is the spine now, because of the backpack being over on the right shoulder, now there's this tilt downhill. There's a curvature here that's developed and another line of force going right down here and an uneven pelvis and sacrum. All of these areas here, right? All these places where there's these intersections and asymmetries cause significant issues. Also, right here at the top, that's the main breaker, right? Most important area on the spinal column because that's where the brainstem lives. And so whenever there's uneven force put onto the brainstem for a prolonged period of time, it can cause headaches, neck pain, along with a whole host of other issues that we'll dig into at another point in time. So just be aware of this because these curvatures, their spine will over time, if they do this day after day, will take on these postures. And not only will they lead to pain, but it can also lead to more dangerous permanent curvatures. And so we want to prevent that because it can be a long-term consequence as well. Now, when we look at backpack size, remember, a roomy backpack may seem like a great idea, but the more space there is to fill, the more likely your child's going to fill it. So we want to make sure that that they don't overfill the backpack, try and leave some books that they're not needing that day, leave them at school. Make sure that your child uses both straps like we talked about when carrying the backpack. Using one strap like we talked about also shifts the posture, the weight to one side and causes muscle pain and posture problems. This is Dr. Scott. God bless you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Growing Healthy Families podcast, the world's #1 source for health education. Make sure to go to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a review. Make sure to follow us on social media at the links listed in the show notes and let us know what area of health you are struggling with so we can get you and your family on the road to epic health.